From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell and I'm in London, where it's a busy week. It's the annual conference for me of the Sports Resolutions, which is an organisation that provides pro bono legal support for high-performing sportsmen and women, amongst many other things, including administering the country's national anti-doping panel here in the UK and national safeguarding. And they've also just launched a new independent complaints process. National governing bodies, take note. It's freely available. There's been a lot of instances of allegations around bullying and various behavioural things over the years. And this is a process which really could help governing bodies, including cricket, with that sort of process. So yeah, busy week going on down here.
I'm Brett Sprigg in Sydney, where I note Australia has increased its lead in the latest test rankings, but people aren't necessarily dancing in the streets here. I think the real test will come when the Aussie men have to go away to face Sri Lanka next month. Until then, I think we'll keep our celebrations a little low-key.
Hello, I'm Charu Sharma for All India Radio. I'm in New Delhi today at the wonderful Taj Palace Hotel. Brett, looks like, you're talking about Test match cricket, but the world's going to be talking about T20 World Cup later this year. And Alison, what can I say? Alison for PM. I mean, you're doing such fabulous stuff. But I'm in Delhi because of the, a little bit of important stuff myself, the Ethics and Governance Committee of the Pro Kabaddi League, which, of course, wants to make sure that we are very well governed, which we think we are. But, of course, in India, all eyes still on the IPL, where it's, do or die time for the lower half of the table for sure.
Well, the IPL keeps going. And this is where we're going to start, Charu and Brett, because there has been, a star in the making, we believe. A fast bowler who's being hailed as the find of this year's Indian Premier League. He's just 22 years old. And already, former South Africa fast bowler Dale Steyn has called the youngster his own inspiration. The name you need to know is Umran Malik. And he has gone from being a rookie to a star of the world's highest paid league in just over a month. So what makes him special? First, his speed. He's bowled the fastest ball of this year's IPL, clocked at 154 kilometres per hour. Just before that, he took this season's best bowling figures with 5 for 25 for Sunrisers Hyderabad. That was against the table-topping Gujarat Titans. And he's had praise heaped on him from his own hero, MS Dhoni. Charu, I mean, he has shots into the spotlight. I guess the IPL does that. But tell us a little bit more about Umran and his particular story.
You are right, Alison. Every year we get a new hero from the IPL, and that, of course, is its biggest contribution, particularly to Indian cricket, but I suspect to international cricket as well. Once in a while, there are new heroes that are born out of the IPL for other countries. So, as you said, he's just 22, but remarkably, and this is rare, of course, except in maybe the northern part of India and maybe Pakistan, where till 16, 17, he played no organized cricket. Can you imagine that? Just tennis ball cricket with friends, and of course they have this peculiar taped ball cricket up north, which is this insulation tape that they put around a tennis ball. It can get really quick and hurt a bit too, I can assure you. So that's what he was bowling with, and he got spotted, played for his state, Jammu and Kashmir, which is up north, and I'm not suggesting he's new to cricket, but hasn't turned up too many stars over all these years, except for one off-spinner. Who played for India a couple of matches. So if you can be a star in that part of the country, you can be, a leading light for a lot of other youngsters, which is the important part because sports has been a little up and down in Jammu and Kashmir. So there he goes from a fruit seller's son. So I mean no disrespect. It just as wasn't hugely privileged to then quickly being put into the state team, and because of his speed, he got into an IPL team as a sort of a lower level player, and then got fast tracked to a very important spot, which is net bowler for the Indian team. Now, that's where you can really impress. You start hurting the big boys, they say, oh, watch out for him. And, of course, he continued for the Sunrisers Hyderabad to now being the celebrated fastest bowler in India at 154. Of course, this is his breakout here. So all the accolades and the riches are set to follow. So not just yet. Hope he can keep a nice, easy, solid head on his shoulder as he goes along in the game.
Yeah, it's early days for him, Brett, isn't it? But do you love this sort of story when, a youngster really hits the spotlight in this way?
It's incredible. Yeah, so impressive for a number of reasons. And I guess putting all that aside, for a moment, we can just appreciate that in a sport which evolves so quickly and things come and go in trends, certain things always seem to be in vogue. there is still a place for just pure out-and-out express pace bowling. And to be honest, we haven't tended to see any of those really fast bowlers in the Indian system. I think Umesh Yadav might have cracked 150 a few years ago, but not regularly. And Jasprit Bumrah, despite being a very good bowler, also doesn't reach those speeds. So it is very, very exciting. And I guess maybe the fact that he had a delayed start to playing organised cricket means he will prolong his career through his 20s and 30s and not break down as we tend to see some very fast bowlers do.
In terms of India, is he a chance at all for the T20 World Cup in October, or is it still a little too soon?
Well, there's a big populist movement, Umran for T20 India. But, of course, it's a tough one for the selectors, because when it comes to these major tournaments, I think people do tend to fall over on the side of experience. India has a habit of perhaps blooding people a little later compared to a few other countries. The best part is that there's a bit of a hole in the fast bowling area in India right now, because some of the bowlers, such as Bumrah and others, are very tired. He's not doing too well in the IPL at all. Others are tried and tested, haven't quite made it. Ishant Sharma is no longer a force. So, there is a tiny window, but there are a couple of others ahead of him. So it's 50-50 is the best I can do. I'm sorry, I don't want to sit in the fence. but
you're getting splinters.
Yeah, well, it's hurting. But I do think that they should save him up a little, because if he gets thrashed at the World Cup, it might reduce his confidence and it might hurt his career potentially. So I personally would be happy to wait, but there's a very heavy populist swell to include him.
So remember the name, Umran Malik, and we'll find out in time whether he is a seasonal sensation or a star in the making. Well, next on Stumped, we know that fans around the world love to collect items from their favourite sports. It might be a playing card, it might be the jersey of a favourite team. You might be lucky enough to even have a shirt signed by your favourite player. It could be a bat or a ball, a signed bat or ball in cricket. So sports memorabilia is nothing new, but what about memorabilia that you can't physically touch and that it only exists online? Well, welcome to the world of NFTs. Three little letters that you might have heard of before. You might not be quite sure what they mean. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. And these NFTs are making some people quite a lot of money. Are you interested? Are you confused? Well, I think Charu and Brett and I are a little bit of both. So luckily, we have somebody here to explain more. The co-founder of Rario, the first officially licensed digital collectibles platform for cricket. And they've recently partnered with Cricket Australia. Sunny Banot is with us. Sunny, warm welcome to Stumped. My first question is, in the most simple terms, can you explain to us in more detail what an NFT is?
NFT, in a nutshell, is a digitally verifiable way to prove your ownership through a trustless system. Now, there's a lot of technical jargon here, and let me just unpack it a little for everyone. One, it's digital, so it's available online. Two, it's verifiable. It's mathematically provable that you own a certain thing. It's a trustless system, which basically means you don't need a trusted third party, trusted intermediary to help you prove that ownership. For example, a bank or an authority or something. So basically, it works on blockchain. All right. So these three things basically allow you to own anything digitally, prove the ownership of it, and then transact on it. That is what NFT in a nutshell means. It's a lot of technology jargon here, but what does it really mean for, let's say, a sports fan? Now, everyone here remembers, for example, one of the most iconic series in the last few years would have been 2005 Ashes. Yeah, we all remember what Flintoff did in second and fourth Test match, for example. Now, as a sports fan, you want a piece of it, right? You want to own that. So what about, I allow you to buy that and own that. Of course, you have a poster already. You have seen those videos already on YouTube. But what if I say that, you are the only owner, or maybe one of the 100 people who own this in the world? Just you, 100 people, all right? And that's what, is the value of NFT, which is basically a verifiable way for you to own something which is as intangible as a video or a moment or a player card. It basically enables that. That is in essence what NFT is.
Sunny, as Ali mentioned, you've recently partnered with Cricket Australia. Tell us a little bit about that and what those collectibles look like.
So, like I mentioned, moments being one for sure, wherein, we plan to, and they have, I think, cricket footage since 1979, and that's just international matches. Of course, there's a BBL, which is a very interesting piece. There's a women cricket. There's a Sheffield Trophy as well. So there's tons of cricket which is happening in Australia. There are tons of brilliant moments there, which a lot of people would want to collect. That's one for sure. Two, of course, players, because this partnership also includes ACA, which is Australian Cricketers Association, the player body. So we also plan to launch cricketer NFTs as well, which would mean player cards. And those player cards, through our partnership, for example, with Dream 11, could also be used in, let's say, for example, fantasy game. Yeah. So there's a lot of gaming component built around it as well. That's the, again, like I said, digital part of it. There's a lot of offline stuff that we're also planning, and we hopefully will be releasing pretty soon when our official platform for Cricket Australia launches, I think somewhere in July or so. So yeah, I mean, there's tons of exciting stuff we have planned. Digital, yes, but also offline, engaging fans. And it is basically a fan-centric platform. It is built for fans. It is built for cricketers. So tons of engagement, tons of access to their stars, to their heroes, to history as well.
Well, I've been given good advice by those who should know better that, listen, don't worry about it, get into it. Do something about this whole NFT, rush. I'm still a little hesitant because I'm a little unclear about the IP, because anyone can get up, theoretically, to me, it seems, and say, well, hang on, you don't have the right to do that. If I have Sachin's bat, which is signed and given to me, and I kind of sell it to you as an NFT for X, rupees, dollars, does Sachin still have a right to say, excuse me, I mean, you're not supposed to do that because I gave it to you in good faith, or it's still my bat or my signature, and you have no right to sell it? I mean, how do all these complications work, Sunny?
I mean, these are complications. A bunch of things are not very clearly defined. Who owns what? For example, when I buy a certain bat in an auction, what rights do I have? So those are, a little hazy in terms of the definition. What we're working towards, especially, for example, and our partnership with Cricket Australia and ACA is an example of that. We want to take all the relevant stakeholders, together, clearly define what rights are there, what can be allocated to a certain NFT, what will be passed on to a user when he buys a certain NFT. So all of that is very, very clear. Yeah. And we hope to replicate that model, in other partnerships that we do in future.
Sunny, you are the ultimate collector, I have to say. Thank you so much for being with us on Stumped and helping to clarify what NFTs are all about. That's Sunny Banot, co-founder of Rario. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about as NFTs gather pace.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on ABC and All India Radio.
And finally, making the news headlines 115 years after you played your final innings is quite impressive. Then again, the impact of W.G. Grace extends far beyond his own cricketing career. The man heralded as the father of cricket opened the batting for England beyond his 50th birthday and is fifth on the list for the most runs scored in first-class cricket, amassing over 50,000 in a 44-year career. Despite all that, he's being punished. Some of his runs are being taken away from him. The question is, should they have been attributed to him in the first place? The Wisden Cricketer's Almanac has determined that 10 of Grace's matches weren't actually at first-class level. And so gone are 685 runs, 67 wickets and 2 centuries wiped from the first-class record books. Brett, does it seem a little bit unfair? And WG isn't even here to make his case to keep those runs in the little yellow book.
Well, I guess if nothing else, this does bring Wisden into line with the Association of Cricket Statisticians and Historians. So it might sound arbitrary or pedantic, but there's a level of consistency here. And I think in general, history has been generous to certain first-class matches and matches that should not have been deemed first-class fixtures, which is probably, for example, why the university match, Oxford versus Cambridge, no longer has first-class status. And then there's dispute around things such as the World Series Super Tests in the late 70s, which I know Ian Chappell is a big advocate for, as well as other various World 11 or exhibition events that do or don't deserve official status. There is a sizable can of worms here, Ali, and I'm glad I'm not the one who has to open it, particularly to push against the tide of W.G. Grace sentimentalists in this case.
Oh, Charu, I mean, it means Grace's historic feat of becoming the first player to score 100 first-class hundreds actually happened 2 weeks later than first thought. What if you're a memorabilia holder around that particular date, or so what you thought was that date?
Might even benefit you. Because, all of a sudden, there are these pieces of memorabilia or perhaps stats or facts which are then disputed later. And the disputed facts, or the ones who change, are given a modern context. So all of a sudden, something that you held belonged to whatever, 1889 or whatever, is now does have a 2022 context to it. And all of a sudden, it's sort of all churned up again, and perhaps you can get even better value about the 100 that wasn't. So
to make an
good.
NFT out of the moment
True.
the Almanac decided to change all this.
But I'm all for correcting things. I mean, why let them be? If there was an error, however late it is, correct it. That's okay.
Well, let me give you the background. Wisden first changed the dates of his 100th 100 in 1981, but the book's editor at the time restored them the next year, basically saying that he didn't want to interfere with history. But the current editor, who's Lawrence Booth, we of course had him on Stumped when the Almanac was published a little while ago. He says it's faintly ludicrous that the book has massaged Grace's statistics, and says, quotes, "The time has come to accept that the Almanac should be more concerned with record than romance." And there's got to be something in that. Brett, are you sort of erring on the side of who with this one? You're in favour of the records?
Yeah, look, scorers and historians are some of the most stubborn people I know, and we love them. So far be it for me to argue against them. I'm going to side with the records, and I think Wisden has done that well enough.
Simon Ray, who's the author of A Grace biography, has said, in this case, with what the Wisden Almanac has done, he says it's like remeasuring Everest and shaving a foot or two off. It's still going to be the highest mountain in the world. Charu, do you think that sort of applies quite neatly to the W.G. Grace scenario?
I do agree with Simon. And by the way, Everest does keep getting remeasured all the time, and we have a different height all the time. It doesn't change the fact that it's still number one.
Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's show here on All India Radio. Don't forget that you can follow us on Twitter. We're at BBCWS Sport. Use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And you can watch us on YouTube as well. Just search for the BBC World Services YouTube channel. My thanks to Charu Sharma and to Brett Sprigg, and to all of you. See you again next week. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC sport production for the BBC World Service in association with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and All India Radio.